Moyen and welcome. Hello and welcome. This podcast is for motivated people who want to improve their Luxembourgish vocabulary, listening skills, and fluency by listening to compelling content. I'm Anne, your dedicated host and the driving force behind Luxembourgish with Anne, with a true passion for teaching my mother tongue since 2012. In this dynamic podcast, I'll share with you interesting short vocabulary lessons and topic conversations from level A1 to B1, and together we will build a strong foundation of the language you need to speak with confidence about everyday life topics. I also share exclusive learning strategies and insights for the Sprachentest oral exam. So join me on this exciting Luxembourgish learning journey. Bist du prêt? Are you ready? So today you will learn how to say in Luxembourgish, nice to meet you. Don't you think that it is important to be able to express yourself when you are meeting someone for the first time? So in this episode, you will learn two best ways to make an exchange with someone you have never met before, whether you want to be formal or informal. We will start with a short conversation followed by a vocabulary boost. In the conversation, you will hear Sandra and Madame Lux. Sandra has just moved in a new flat and she would like to introduce herself to her neighbor, Madame Lux. Even though, dear listener, you may have no Luxembourgish knowledge at all, see if you can get any idea what the exchange is about. And take my learning tip here. Be comfortable with not understanding everything. Don't worry if you don't understand all the words. That's not the most important. The goal is that you get a feel for the sounds of Luxembourgish. So be patient. The more you will listen to the language, the more you will get used, and little by little you will understand more and more. You will hear the conversation twice, once slowly and then in normal spoken Luxembourgish. Afterwards, we will break it down. Bist du prêt? Are you ready? Dan lass. Goedemorgen. Mijn naam is Sandra Weber. Ich bin Ernai-Nopisch, will mich vorstellen. Oh, ich bin Madame Lux. Et freut mich, euch kennenzulernen, Madame Lux. Oh, mich auch. Et ist schön, euch kennenzulernen. Et freut mich auch immens. Wollt ihr herabkommen an einen Kaffee trinken? Ja, gern, Madame Lux. Du kannst mich auch gern duzen. Ich bin Kathi. Anderei, ich bin Sandra. Oh, so schön, dich kennenzulernen, Sandra. Komm heran. And now you will hear the conversation in normal spoken Luxembourgish. Goedemorgen, mijn naam is Sandra Weber. Ich bin Ernai-Nopisch, will mich vorstellen. Oh, ich bin Madame Lux. Et freut mich, euch kennenzulernen, Madame Lux. Oh, mich auch. Et ist schön, euch kennenzulernen. Et freut mich auch immens. Wollt ihr herabkommen an einen Kaffee trinken? Ja, gern, Madame Lux. Du kannst mich auch gern duzen. Ich bin Kathi. Anderei, ich bin Sandra. Oh, so schön, dich kennenzulernen, Sandra. Komm ran. So, in the dialogue you heard, et freut mich, euch kennenzulernen. Let's repeat it again. Et freut mich, euch kennenzulernen. Et freut mich means it pleases me. And euch kennenzulernen means to get to know you. Or in better English, it's a pleasure to get to know you. So let's repeat. Et freut mich, euch kennenzulernen. It's the formal way. How would you say this in an informal way? Well, then you will need to replace the euch by dich. So we have et freut mich, dich kennenzulernen. Repeat after me. Et freut mich, dich kennenzulernen. So dich is the informal form here to say nice to meet you. Now, this sounds a bit complicated, and I'm happy to let you know that we have a shorter way to say nice to meet you, and this is het freut mich, or even shorter, freut mich. And you can say het freut mich in both formal and informal situations. And how would you answer now? Well, you just can say mich or. For example, someone says, het freut mich, and then you can answer back by saying mich or. Or meaning also. Take note, however, that with ich or, the literal translation is I too, and not me too, but that's the way how we would answer. Okay. It is important to be aware of little nuances like this to avoid mistranslating in the future. That was the first way to say nice to meet you. In the dialogue, you have also heard this way to say nice to meet you. Het is schön, euch kennenzulernen. Let's repeat. Het is schön, euch kennenzulernen. Het is schön means it is nice. And then euch kennenzulernen is again the formal form to get to know you. Okay, but we have, of course, also here a shorter version, and which is much more natural. We would just say, schön, euch kennenzulernen. Schön, euch kennenzulernen. Nice to meet you, formal. And maybe you can guess now how the informal form would be. So this would be, het is schön, dich kennenzulernen. Or the shorter version, schön, dich kennenzulernen. Schön, dich kennenzulernen. And let's learn here as well how to answer when someone says schön euch kennenzulernen or schön dich kennenzulernen. You would then say dich auch. Dich auch, donc schön dich kennenzulernen. Dich auch, meaning you too. Okay, and this is the informal form, and the formal form would be euch auch. Let's repeat. So someone says to you in a formal situation, schön euch kennenzulernen. Then you will answer by saying euch auch. Okay? So that was the second way to say nice to meet you. Now I will end this lesson with some vocabulary, because in the dialogue you heard some useful vocabulary as well. So Sandra says at the beginning, ich sind nei nopisch. Nopisch meaning neighbor for a woman. So eng nopisch. It's a feminine noun. Eng nopisch, a neighbor when it's a woman. If your neighbor is a man, then you will say noper. Een noper. And the plural, if you have neighbors, you would say noperen. My neighbors, mijn noperen. And then Sandra says, ich will mich vierstellen. Ich will mich vierstellen. Here we have the verb sich vierstellen, which means to introduce oneself. Ich will mich vierstellen. I want to introduce myself. Wollen, we have here the verb wollen, to want. And we have the verb again in the dialogue when Madame Lux asks, wollt dir kommen? Wollt dir means, do you want formal situation? Wollt dir kommen? Do you want to come in? Kommen, to come in. Let's repeat this question. Wollt dir kommen? And Sandra answers back by saying, ja, gern. So, ja, gern means yes, with pleasure. So, ja, gern. Okay? And then Madame Lux says, du kannst mich auch gern duzen. Duzen means to use the du form, so the informal form of you in Luxembourgish. Donc, du kannst mich auch gern duzen. So, that war alles für heute. So that was all for today. How today. So don't hesitate to listen again and again to the episode to get a feel for the sounds of the language. And in my self-study online course, A1 Foundation, you will learn much more vocabulary about greetings and salutations, but also the difference between the formal form of you and the informal form of you, which is a really important grammar point in Luxembourgish. Now, listening and reading at the same time helps you to figure out how to pronounce Luxembourgish and to better memorize words. And this is what you will do in this self-study online course. For all the details about this course, head over to the show notes where you will find the link. So, Adi, bis nächste Woche. Bye, until next week.